Yo, here we are back again in the OT.com as we continue our 2010-11 hockey preview. We're swinging over to the East Coast, where I don't believe there's nearly as much depth in the conference, but you cannot overlook the top teams that match the Western Conference top teams, and it all starts with the firepower in the dirty South. Well, at least that's what they say the division is, even though they're actually closer to places like Philadelphia and New York. This isn't a geography lesson. Alexander Ovechkin, Alexander Semin, Nicholas Backstrom, arguably the top 3-forward combination you can get in this league.
Yeah, Nicholas Backstrom is a top-flight center. He is a top-5 center in the game. Very stud, very skilled, and you also got some great depth with Thomas Fleischmann.
Eric Fehr,
very quality player. And as you look to the back end, you got Mike Green, legitimately the best offensive defenseman in the game, and you've got a young, blossoming, stay-at-home defenseman in Carl Alsner who will really be able to keep pucks to the outside and to the wall for Semyon Varlamov, who will be their go-to goaltender this year.
And we know Nicky Schultz will be back there holding down the blue line. Now, the problem with Washington as being in the playoffs is the goaltending and the defensive lapses. And last year, as much as people wanted to rag on them, I thought they played well against Montreal.
Yep.
The one thing that I somewhat question is the strategy with Boudreau. It's almost like they just say, fire it on that, keep shooting. There's a difference between a shot and a quality shot. And when you play in a bad division like that, yes, you're going to rack up the wins. However, in the playoffs, what does this team need to do differently to get over the hump?
Well, I mean, I think they need to look to really start to have more of a structure to their game and not just rely so heavily on Ovechkin. But it just will be interesting to see if they're able to alter their style. I'm sure they've learned something from last year, and I look for them to really be a well-coached team this year.
It's going to come down to the goaltending can hold things in, and the defense holds a fort. Mike Green doesn't have turnovers in his own end because we've seen that be a bit of an issue, even though we can rack up the points. So in order to be a great defense, you got to be a little bit more responsible on your own end. His offense more than makes up for it, though.
Yep, and moving right along to what I consider to be the second best team in the East is Happy Gilmore's favorite team, the Boston Bruins.
Yes.
These guys are stud. And
I love the Bruins this year. We both agree on it. They might not be considered contenders by whatever McKean's magazine and the Hockey News and whatever guys on his BBM on BlackBerry on Sportsnet. The bottom line is this team addressed all the problems they had last year in the offseason by getting better up front. It started with acquiring Nathan Horton, and they got Mr. Tyler Seguin from the Toronto Maple Leafs because they thought they were going to be stud and make the playoffs last year.
That is why.
A high pick. And when you look at their offense from last year, they didn't score goals, but they were injured, and the talent is there when you got guys like Krejci, Lucic, Mark Savard. You got Patrice Bergeron. You got a veteran like Recchi, Marco Sturm. I mean, this team has forwards. It's just a matter of them all being healthy and playing as one cohesive unit.
Yeah, and then you look to the back end. You got the really big Z. He's even bigger than Zibanejad. They got Zdeno Chara. He's a monster to play against. Nothing's going to change this year. He's really going to shut it down for Boston. And
then Tuukka Rask. I mean, this guy had a phenomenal season as his first year fully started. Yeah. So the combination of that, you can overcome the lack of depth they might have on defense after losing Weidman in the Horton trade. But they'll have other guys that fill in, like the likes of Boychuk and Matt Hunwick and these guys. They might be not your household names, but when you have a Claude Julien coach team, the system is going to be in place. And I look for this to be a very gritty team that is just designed for the playoffs. I like what Chiarelli's doing. He's always proactive. There's always changes going on. And I really think this Boston team has a real good chance to contend. And I think a lot got learned from blowing that lead against Philly in the second round last year.
Yeah, and even though Mark Savard is now injured because of that bonehead elbow from Matt Cook last year, and he could be out for the full season with concussion, or maybe come back late, I really look for this young kid, Tyler Seguin, to really step in. He's the real deal. Let me tell you, Edmonton thought very hard whether they were going to take Taylor Hall ahead of him. This guy is a franchise player, and if he can even have a fraction of the season that other rookies had last year, like Duchesne or Tavares, then Tyler Seguin's really going to step up.
Now, the other contenders, obviously, Crosby, it doesn't matter who else is on the team. This Pittsburgh Penguin team, they are going to be good. Crosby and Malkin and Stahl, the best 1-2-3 center combination in the NHL.
There's no doubt about it. And even though Jordan Stahl is going to miss the first part of the year with a staph infection in his foot,
doesn't mean anything. He'll be ready for the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pittsburgh, it doesn't matter what seed they had. As a matter of fact, both years they made it to the finals, they were at number 4 seed.
Yeah, and people talk about Pittsburgh's depth, but I still see a couple guys in Mike Carmi and Chris Kunitz These guys are often overlooked. These guys can pass the puck. These guys have been in big-time situations.
Billy Heron can still score a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And with the additions of Paul Martin, he's going to really shore up that defense. And
so even though they lost Gonchar, in my opinion, the defense got overall better.
Exactly. And Chris Letang, this guy's the real deal.
Yeah, and they also have another young defenseman. What's his name? Alex Goligoski. And then you got Brooks Orpik. I mean, for a team that was often criticized for their defense, it's almost like they have more defensive depth now with Fleury and Net. I think it's a great strategy because when you have two superstar forwards, it makes sense to just build it from the back end. And you can put whoever you want on the wing with Crosby and Malkin. They are going to light it up. Pittsburgh will be there.
Yep.
Now, as we move east in the same state, we go to the Eastern Conference champions, the Philadelphia Flyers.
Woo! Yeah, over there in the Atlantic Division, it's going to be one hell of a battle. But you've got the Flyers who are set. They're ready to go. Starting from the top, they got Claude Giroux, who really emerged last year in the playoffs. This guy's a true playmaker. He's smallish in size, but he does go to the dirty areas. Very good player.
What about Philly Lino?
Yeah.
This guy emerged. I mean, you talk about everybody knows Richards and Carter. These guys are the heart and soul of two best players, and there's no doubt about it. They're amazing. And you add in these guys like Giroux and Lino that have improved. That's what makes this team so good. The depth. Briere, when he's healthy, is still scoring as well.
Yeah, exactly. And even though they lost Simone Gagner, it looks as though James Van
won't even affect them. They have so much depth it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, besides, Gagner was hurt all the time anyways. I really look for Van Riemsdyk to really step forward and really take a prominent role in the top 6 spot on this team. And then you look at the back end. They added Andre Mazzaros and Kimmo Timonen to an already solid back end.
Well, Timonen was there all those years, but Pronger and Timonen, great veteran defensemen. You got the young kids in Carl and Coburn, outstanding top 4. The number one knock on Philadelphia was the fact that they did not have a bottom pairing. Krychek was useless. Perrant wasn't ready. So what do they do in the offseason? They bring in Andre Mazzaros, so now they have a top 5.
Yeah, it was Bobby Clark's plan to build it from the D out. Doesn't care about the goalie. They're just going to go with Michael Layton this year, and he's going to set up. I think they're going to be just fine.
Well, even, the thing is that Philly goaltending, the guys were injured, but when Emery played, he was playing fine, and so was Boucher. So, I mean, like Clark says, if you have a great defense,
it makes the goaltending look good.
And when you have forwards that are that skillful and can play puck possession hockey, this Philadelphia team is just loaded up front, and I don't see why they're not in them. They're definitely in the mix in the East.
Yeah, and speaking of goaltending, it leads me to another team. It makes me think about Marty Brodeur and the New Jersey Devils.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this Atlantic Division is so tough because you have these 3 teams, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the New Jersey Devils. Kovalchuk, just go watch my rants because I almost fall off my chair having heart attacks. You guys know what I think about how amateur the NHL is. But the bottom line is he's in the lineup this year. You combine him with a Zach Parise and a Travis Zajac, a veteran Patrick Ilias, Jamie Langenbrunner, and even an aging Brian Rolston. This team has forwards.
Yeah, they have depth, they have scoring touch, and they're going to be able to handle it in the tight spots. And then adding Henrik Tallinder and Anton Volchenkov, the shot blocking presence.
They replace Paul Morton. The defense gets better. And I think that Brodeur has actually gotten worse. He's definitely played bad in big spots we've noticed the last few years.
Yeah.
But the one difference that I think could really get New Jersey over the top this year, which we have not seen in past years, is the coaching difference in style. Because gone is Jacques Lemaire. There's no more of this defensive style. We got Johnny McLean in here. This guy used to be a sniper. He's been in the Devils system for his entire life after being a goal scorer. He coached down, I believe it's the Albany River Rats, the minor league team, working his way up. And this guy's going to employ a more offensive style. And like I was saying before, this team has forwards. I forgot Zubris as well. They have big players. They have skilled young players. They will be able to score. It's just a matter of the system because they have the skill. So, in my opinion, those are the only contenders really in the conference. I don't see anybody else in the mix.